Jody Stokes Familetti with Jody Stokes Fitness. Today we're working on strength and mobility for athletes. No weights, and you don't have to be an athlete to do this. We're going to be working through points of uncomfortable tension, meaning you're going to be taking some stretches to a place where you might be breathing heavy. Stick with me. And we're going to warm up with some hip openers today. Just slightly turn those toes out. You're going to sit back into that squat. Now this is an external rotation in the hip, and you're going to squeeze a little bit on the up. Just warming up that body. Remember, anytime you're doing a hip opener, stretching the ligaments in your hips, you're also helping your back because those ligaments in the hips get super tight, especially if you're cycling or you're running or you're sitting a lot of your day. You're going to rotate that knee in, thus bringing that knee in toward the midline of your body and in an inward rotation in that hip. Now we're just going to gently move it from side to side. Again, warming up those hips just a little bit. You'll feel a little stretch in that hamstring on the straight leg. As we move those toes forward, hands on the thighs, we're going to push those hips back. A little of a deeper stretch into what's called the adductor muscle, the inner thigh. Still working on those hips. Good, go ahead and reach it down. Now I have some yoga blocks. So if you don't have a yoga block handy, you can put a pillow down if it's too hard to reach those hands onto the floor. And you're just gonna widen those feet just a little bit, and then we're gonna move from side to side again. Still working on those hips. The hips and the back are usually the tightest places on the body if you are an athlete, or if you find that you're sitting a lot in your day. You wanna move into what I call this active lunge. Get your hips back and watch that that knee doesn't go over your ankle. Good. Bringing those hands a little closer toward the inside of your body, and you're just going to wiggle those hips a little bit more from side to side. Good. Come all the way up, hands on the thighs. Roll your back up. Now we're going to do what's called a standing cat-cow. So as you round your back, you want to vacuum in those abs and round the spine. You want to tuck it all the way down underneath from your tailbone to your cervical vertebrae. Cervical vertebrae are up towards your neck. So really feel how pliable you can help to make your back by getting into that arch, rounding, vacuum the abs, and then arch that back down. We're going to open up those feet just a little bit more, and if you're comfortable with it, reach down as far as you can. Press into that low back, the hamstrings, the glutes, a little bit of a spinal stretch, and also through the shoulders. We're just going to squat down and we're going to press it up. Sit all the way back into that squat and press all the way up into a straight leg best you can. Taking the block out, standing it all the way up, and we're just gonna arch the back. We're working in opposition. So when we're in forward flexion a lot in any capacity, whether it's through an activity or you're sitting, you wanna make sure that you get some stretches in with that. So we're gonna turn that left, or you're facing me, so you're on your right leg, and make sure that that left leg heel is in and toe is out. We're just gonna take that hand and we're gonna keep it on the thigh and reach that arm up to the ceiling. Spinal stretch, shoulder stretch. To intensify the stretch, we're gonna reach that arm over our head, and I always kind of open up my fingers on my hand to face the front. If you want a little more rotation with the shoulder, you can turn your hand with the thumb up and then the thumb down. Going in the other way, you're gonna feel this in your spine, a little bit in your hip. We're gonna turn all the way forward, making sure everything's linear. We're going down into a deep lunge, and then we're gonna reach back and squeeze that glute, stretching and arching that back just a little bit. Good. Back to the front, hands on the thighs, back into that deep squat, round the back up. Squat down, round the back, roll it up. Squat it back, round the back, all the way up. A little movement from side to side. Just in case those hips are still feeling it, we're gonna kind of keep moving through it. They call it making your hips supple and lubricating those joints. So continue to think in that direction. We're gonna reach down toward the leg, and you wanna try to straighten that leg. Now, if it's too hard to reach all the way down toward the floor, just go ahead and support yourself on that thigh. Either way, just try to reach forward. This is called triangle pose in yoga. That hand reaches all the way up toward the sky and then over the head. And if you want a little more shoulder stretch, just turn that thumb up toward the ceiling and back toward the ground. Gently come back up and in opposition going the other way. Try to pull your abs in as you reach back. You'll be engaging your core just a little bit. It's amazing how much core work you get in here too. We're gonna turn, we're gonna take it into that deeper, slower lunge with a little bit of a lean back at the top. Awesome, back to the front. Toe heel your feet together, bring them right underneath your hips, stretch both arms up above your head. So when I take my stretch over with my shoulders, I usually try to grab the wrist and the opposite hand over. So right now, I've got my, let's say, if you're mirroring me, right hand to the left shoulder, left hand, other way. Now we're gonna reach forward and sit into child's pose. Your hands are on top of a block or maybe a pillow if it's hard to reach those shoulders down onto the mat. So you discern how you're feeling as you sit all the way back. We're gonna open up our knees and then we're gonna sit down, press our hips into the mat. This one's a hard one because, again, if you are in a sport where you're in forward flexion,
or you're sitting all day, the back is in what's called forward flexion. We want to go in opposition and try to hold that stretch. Great spinal stretch, lubricating all the spine muscles. Hold that stretch best you can, pull your abs in, and then we'll take it into child's pose, and we're gonna open up those knees just a little bit wider. So the goal is to keep those arms out in front of you too for the shoulders. Good, we're gonna push it down and then back up. They call this cobra in yoga. So you're bending your elbows close to your body and you're pushing up and through the pose. You should be able to feel this a little bit in the backs of the arms, your triceps. And if you'd like to stretch a little bit through the neck, go ahead and look up at the ceiling. Just watch what you're doing with your neck. You can take it from side to side as you come up. Okay, we're gonna go into what's called a runner's stretch right here. So that front leg is forward. If you're mirroring me, you might be on your right leg forward, and I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna open up that knee just a little bit. Okay, you guys, you want to just straighten that front leg. You have an option here. You can flex that foot and point the toe, and that'll stretch out what's called your tibialis anterior, otherwise known as your shin. This is a pretty tough stretch, so be gentle. Again, if you have two blocks, you can put one on each side of that where the hand is. Then we come back into that runner's stretch, big hip flexor stretch right here. Switching to the other leg. You want to warm up that hip first. Let your hands rest on top of the thigh. Then press that knee a little to your left if you have your left leg. Open that hip up again. Take it down and back, straighten out that front leg. Now, interesting, my left hip flexor is much tighter than my right, so it feels like it's a little harder to get down. And if I were to even flex that foot, that would be even hard for me. So this is good for me as well. Press back into that hip, big hip flexor stretch. If you need one block on each side, go ahead and do so. If you want to come back up onto that thigh, go ahead and do so. We're going to work into the shoulders right now. So you're on your knees and you're just going to open both arms out. Press that chest to the floor. Reach one arm underneath and you're going to turn your head in the opposite direction or in the same direction of the arm that's going through. Try to just locate that shoulder, press it onto the floor, switching sides. Okay, now we're gonna move to the side on the knee, and we're working a little bit of the external rotation again, but a little bit of the abductor muscle, inner thigh muscle, adductor muscle. Switching sides, and we're gonna sit back into child's pose. This is a good angle right here, so you can see that I'm opening up both knees and sitting way back. Now we're going to the other side. Support yourself. Go ahead and stand it all the way up. This is a great stretch for my flexible people out there. See if you can get those elbows to the ground. Now that you're feeling warmed up, straighten out those arms all the way through that back, the shoulders. Bring those hands in. We're going to toe heel those feet back. Hands on the thighs, that'll support your back. And then we're going into the cat-cow again. So the rounded back and the arched back. Reach it all the way up. Reach it all the way over. Good job, you guys. How much more flexible do you feel? Thank you so much for your likes and subscribes. And that's it. Be fit.